first things first is I have an announcement for next week. We are doing our class next week. This one's on Thursday, and you're not going to want to miss this because we have a guy by the name of Jeff Thurston coming here. Jeff is from Minnesota. He is the microbiologist behind Master Supplements. And when it comes to your gut bacteria, your microbiome, you absolutely have to hear what this guy has to say. Don't tell him I said this, but he is one of the smartest dudes that I know. And he's very, very capable of taking really complex information and like boiling it down so everyone can understand it. And he's a riot to listen to. So next Thursday, sitting in this chair
7 o'clock.
At 7 o'clock will be Jeff Thurston. I know Master Supplements and US Enzymes is actually sending a bunch of stuff for us to give away that night too, which will be pretty cool. So it's a special event, and it's also a break for us because we'll get our second class done and then have to do it again for a couple weeks. So that's coming up. So I'll make sure that I post a lot of information about that on the group Facebook page as well as our other social media channels. So it'll be a blast. So I'm super excited. So there's that, and then people that are joining us, the computer is far enough away that I cannot see the questions, so we'll get to your questions at the end. If you guys have questions as we go, I think it would be good to pipe up, and then we'll just repeat the questions so the mics pick it up, and then we can just answer those, and we'll get through all of this. Sound good? Okay, so when I sit down with people, the first thing that I say is, this program works for 3 reasons. Number 1 is because we're going to help you reduce your overall inflammatory load. That's number 2. Number 1 is we're going to help your body regulate insulin better. Number 2 is we're going to help you reduce your overall inflammatory load. And then number 3 is the coaching and the education piece of this. So tonight we're going to spend time in each one of those areas talking about what that means in detail and how you can, or things that you can do to implement to make that work better for you. So that's the direction we'll go. We'll start with number 1 with the insulin part of this. The insulin is a hormone that is secreted by your pancreas. It is a chemical signal for your body to store energy. So when your brain senses that your blood sugar goes up, your pancreas releases insulin. Insulin allows the glucose to actually enter into the cell. Biology 101, that's how the system works. Okay? But if you think about that, insulin being a hormone, number 1, we can jump into hormones a little bit. And then insulin also being a chemical signal for your body to store energy. When people come in to see us for the first time, that's usually one of the first things I say is it stores energy and we don't need to store any more energy. So if we can get that your insulin surges after your meals to stop looking like the Tetons and start looking more like rolling hills, that's when you get to that point where you're not feeling hungry, you don't feel like eating a second meal, and life gets a whole lot better for you because you're dumping your excess energy stores. So let's talk a little bit how we do that. Okay, the drops are the big secret. I have no doubt that anybody could take this program that we give away. You're going to start seeing Facebook ads from me where they actually are getting the program, the big 18-page document or however long it is now. Anyone could take that and lose weight, right? But it's the drops and it's us. The support system, between the drops is the support system. That's like the big cheat code. Okay, so the drops, they are not hormones.
We get that question.
Yeah, because people are just like deathly afraid that it is HCG. Like that never resonated with me. Why would you want to trick anyone's body into thinking it's pregnant? I'm not okay with that. So it's not doing that. They're not stimulants. It's not going to make your heart race. It's not going to make you lose sleep at night. It's literally just vitamin B3 and amino acids that come from plants. And it's a group of amino acids which has been specifically shown to help your body regulate insulin. Okay, so outside of taking the drops, what else can we do to help our bodies regulate insulin and regulate blood sugar better? Okay, the old paperwork, the way it used to say, sounded like it was discouraging exercise, which we don't want to do that. Say, now, you don't have to go out and grind 45 minutes out on the treadmill every day, but the most recent data suggests that a 15-minute walk after each one of your meals is actually going to help regulate blood sugar better. Hey, that was just, the study was done for walking, so we can assume that, well, this winter, hey, 15 minutes on a treadmill or 15 minutes on an exercise bike or just regular overall general movement, right? Like, we want to get our heart rates up. We want to get a little bit of a sweat, but not so hard that you can't hold a conversation.
Maybe explain a little bit back, because I get a lot of questions about why, like the range and why we shouldn't work out too hard, but why we need to work out. Maybe just a little snippet about.
Sure. So the conversation here's where this conversation went. Hey, it's probably the American Heart Association that's suggesting like these whole like fat burning zones, right? If you keep your heart rate at this fat burning zone, then you're going to burn more calories and you're going to lose more weight. You're going to burn more fat. But if you push it outside of the fat burning zone, then you're getting into like anaerobic exercise where you're utilizing glycogen from your muscles, building up lactic acid. Okay, that will actually cause you to hang on to weight. But then we stopped and thought about that for a second, and we've been on a lot of tangents lately. And I encourage you guys to do this. Go look up, like literally just Google the name of a corporation like the American Heart Association, and then put corporate sponsors after that association. It's literally like Pfizer and all these drug companies, and what was the one? Conagra, which is like Little Debbie snack cakes, and McDonald's. It's mind blowing when you start peeling these layers back. That all these like this health information that we've been getting has been sponsored by junk food commercials, which got you here in the first place. So do you think it's going to be good data? I mean, let's face it. I mean, Google, yeah, maybe we shouldn't go there. But you have to start looking at stuff like that, just being a lot more critical about where these sources are. And so if you Google something, please take it one step further. Hey, like the American Academy of Pediatrics is the corporate sponsors for all the companies that make vaccines. Hey, just start questioning more. Hey, we got to take that back to
Just exercise.
exercise. I knew this would be more fun. Hey, so taking that back to exercise, the whole like keeping your heart rate in that fat burning thing is probably a little bit influenced by, Coke and Gatorade, etc. But for our purposes, what I would say is we want to dial it back just for the fact that you're just not eating a ton of food to support an exercise program. Hey, so when you're in the first phases of this where you're dumping fat, let's not plan on building a whole lot of muscle. But if you want to exercise, awesome, please do it. Just let your coaches know after you start eating more protein. Okay, so if you're working out and you're still feeling hungry, increase your protein load. Does that make sense? But that exercise can make the insulin cells more receptive, or the insulin receptors on the cells more receptive to insulin, and can help take those peaks and valleys to the rolling hills.
And so there's a lot of good exercise you can do that's not going to be excessive. But like if you're pumping out at Orange Theory every day, where the cardio is cranking in there and you're lifting weights, like those were some of the examples we've had where we then had to change the diet plan a little bit. Still less weight, it just took longer, whatever. Right. So just think about the exercise. Like talk to your coach though. Like we have lots of suggestions, lots of ideas, but you can exercise. It is encouraged. Lots of people feel very like we're not allowed to exercise, and I don't want anybody thinking that.
Shouldn't do with that. what are some of the symptoms that people might experience if they don't have enough exercise?
You just answered your own. You just answered your own question. So now I'm just seeing you. So the question was, what are some of the symptoms that you'll experience if you are exercising and you're not eating enough? What's the trigger for you to actually talk to your coach? Is that okay? So, and Audra had said dizziness, nausea, which are two of them. Okay, but also just think about like fatigue. Like if you just don't have enough mojo, right? You probably need to eat some more. Joint pain can be one of them. Excessive joint pain. I know most people feel like a wreck when they come in here anyway. But if you're getting to the point where you're like your fingernails are getting weak and your hair's falling out, we're way beyond protein deficiency at that point. But those are common things that can happen. Okay. Now, let's touch briefly on hormones because Kim and Ashley have been dumping a ton of energy into this. Ladies, for you especially, please understand my role in this is to help you regulate insulin, which is like the Adam and Eve of hormones, right? You cannot fix hormone problems until you regulate glucose and insulin. So if you're doing a hormone replacement therapy, you're insulin resistant, you're putting the cart before the horse. We need to fix that part first. Okay. So what Ashley and Kim have been working on is eating for your cycle. So your diet, when we get into this, if you're still in your menstruating years, your diet may look different than the 4, 4, and 4 just based off of what your cycle is. And we're going to have whole classes and a whole month on this next month. But Kim, do you want to touch on that?
Well, I'll just touch on it real briefly. But basically, if you're a cycling woman still, then there are times when certain hormones are very low, and you're going to need to eat more than the 444, or you're going to need to have breakfast and not be fasting. And so we'll just we're happy to guide you that. So just have to tell your coach, hey, I'm interested in like eating for my hormones a little bit because I'm finding that I'm super starving. Like 1 week I'm fine, 1 week I'm not fine. Like what's the difference? A lot of times it's a hormonal difference. So men are lucky, right? They just have their testosterone and it just hangs out. We're like estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. Like we're all over the place, and it continues to move like every 28 days, right, on average. So when those levels change, so do your dietary needs, and so do your exercise needs too. And so just say, hey, I'm feeling like I'm not normal on this, and then we'd be happy to give you the foods. It's no different food than you normally eat. It's just eating it at different times. And it's also going back to having a breakfast. And for some women, it's fasting their dinner instead of fasting their breakfast. You need to get your hormones started off with a good protein breakfast so that you stay stable through the day. Whereas men don't really have to worry about that. So
there will be more information on that in the next month.
It's cool.
It is.
And it totally will regulate symptoms too. So even if you're like not even finding it that you're struggling with the food plan, but you're like a woman that's like super crampy, super PMSy, your period lasts for 10 days, all these other abnormal things.
This is where you shut up, guys. As a gentleman.
I've just found changing my food this way alleviated all those symptoms. So what's common does not mean normal. So I was just always told this is common. This is normal for you to feel horrible. It's like actually not. So we want to help. I just figured like a bonus for you guys on this program to help you with that part too.
Right. And be sure to let your coach know where you're at on that as well, because
some people want the help and some don't.
We cool with that? Okay, so that's step one, is help regulate. Oh, and you do this through the food too, excuse me. This is why you're avoiding those higher glycemic fruits and vegetables. Okay, this is why we're staying away from carrots and peas and potatoes, which, we told you in the past, the time will come that those foods will come back. But for right now, let's get you to your goal weight first. And no one ever good. How do I rephrase this? Carrots and peas are not going to cause you to gain weight, but they'll stop you from losing it. Same thing for all of the fruits. However, corn and potatoes will cause you to gain weight. And we're surrounded by potato fields right now. Yeah, what's up, Aaron?
So, is there anything that we can, like, one of my curiosities is how do I know where my insulin levels are without going to my mom's house, just diabetic, pricking my finger
Sure.
X number of times a day to see is there a way to chart that or kind of know?
Sure. So Aaron's asking if there is a way to monitor. You said insulin, but the finger prick stuff's actually measuring blood glucose, which you could extrapolate insulin. So there are lab tests that are available. I am working currently on a way to get continuous glucose monitors for the program. They are available commercially. So if you wanted to do something like that, I'd 100% support you. If you wanted to get your own finger prick kits, you can get those online. We are working with a medical company right now to get some sort of program available to you so that we could do that for you. But right now we just don't have it. We just base it off of if you eat this way, it's going to help you regulate your blood sugar better.
And then what your symptoms should look like.
And what your symptoms should look like, yeah.
So cravings should decrease, all that, excess hunger, those things are signs of dysregulated blood sugar.
Insulin, if you Googled insulin-resistant symptoms, it's a whole, you should check them out. Okay. See the skin tag one? I think that one's pretty fascinating. Anyway.
Yeah, the skin tag's actually a sign of dysregulated blood sugar.
The short answer is lab testing. The long answer is stay tuned because we're going to have some more stuff available for you very soon. Cool? All right. So that's the drops. Now we start in the program on day 1 and day 2 with you guys eating whatever you want to eat on those 2 days, but you take the drops. Now, the way it used to be written in the old program was there was a target goal of having 4,000, 6,000 calories. I can't remember what it was. We looked at that and it just didn't make sense to us, so we got rid of it. Okay. Now the paperwork says just eat what you want and have a good time. Now, we do encourage you to
Eat a lot,
make a date night, go have your favorite dessert, go have a good time, and eat more than you normally would, but we're just not putting a calorie number on it because we don't want you guys to make yourselves sick. So what we say is go have a good time, get it out of your system, hey, enjoy it, but if you're going to increase, what you were doing is increasing your caloric load just a little bit so that your body thinks it's going to have to deal with so many calories. I hate saying calories because it's such a broken model. You have to deal with so many calories that your metabolic machinery will actually wind up to deal with it. And all of a sudden the next day, you pull the rug out from underneath of it and your body has to turn to you and use up your fat supply. So that's the thinking behind that. So day 1 and day 2, pretty simple. Have a good time. Just take your drops. Okay? And you're going to continue taking those drops throughout the program until we get you to your closer to your goal weight. Now, with the program, we include 2 bottles of the drops, and that's on purpose so that we can kind of see how your body's going to respond to them. Right? So if your weight loss is starting to level out a little bit towards the end of that 2 months, then maybe it's time to come off of them. If you're still on a steep decline and your body's just chewing fat away, maybe we need to stay on it. But we make that decision together, just kind of based on where you're at when that time comes.
And also a little bit on how much weight you have to lose.
That's also a fact.
Some people come in and want to lose 10 pounds. Some people come in and want to lose 90 pounds. So to say how many drops I'll need or how long this is going to take, very subjective, based on the person too. So
you said that the 2 days you're really fat on, then you're taking the drops, then the third day
That's when you start the plan.
And you said then your body weight
That's when it starts declining. Yep.
how long does that decline happen? It seemed to me my first week was, wow, I lost a lot.
Right.
Now it's only 1 or 2 pounds a week, it seems.
Okay, so the question was, after that day 1 and day 2, you're on a steep decline with your weight loss, and then how long does that steep decline last? And then
Weight loss.
where do we go when then the weight loss slows? That is a very normal thing for people to experience, and that's going to depend on a lot on how much weight you have to lose and how much inflammation there is to get rid of, because a lot of that weight coming off in the beginning is actually your body dumping inflammation, because with inflammation goes water. So Kevin, can I pick on you?
It's like
That's why you lost so much, like right in the beginning, is we're just getting rid of all that inflammatory Diet Coke. Oh, it was Pepsi, sorry. Hey, but everybody's different on that. Hey, as long as age is a factor, right? But as long as we're going in that direction, then
I think the biggest key, though, what I have found with talking to people is the inflammation comes off first. When you start getting into, like, I'm trying to get rid of, like, my stubborn fat that's been hanging on here longer, that's a lot slower coming off. However, don't be discouraged with the slowness, because I feel like it's very sustainable then, right? So, you might go a month or two pretty fast, or for some people it's only a month, few weeks, then it really slows. But if as long as you're continuing to drop, it's really easy for you. Your body's just kind of like getting used to where you're at, right? And then gearing up, and then it's dropping, and it's getting used to that. So what I have found is those people don't just then like gain weight right back when they're done too. So it kind of makes it sustainable. So that's why I tell people, like, be patient in the process, because your body's getting used to where it is, and then it allows you to drop again. That's just kind of.
does that make sense?
Yeah.
But Aaron,
So any tips on how to recognize, your body just doing that, like it's dealing with that and getting ready to do, another decline versus being in a plateau and needing to eat?
So the question was knowing where your body is at in the decline process, or if it's a plateau, or if it's just knowing where it's at. We're going to get to that in just a couple minutes. So if you can just holster that for right now, we will talk about the plateau thing once we get through like the nuts and bolts of the food. Cool? Okay, so, and fasting is the short answer, by the way. More coming. Hey, so the food. The skeleton of the program, and when I mean the skeleton, like what we start with, what we tell people when we first see them, is we're going to have you intermittent fast by skipping breakfast, and then we're going to focus on your 2 meals having, we now say 4 to 6 ounces of quality protein, 4 ounces of fresh fruit, and 4 ounces of fresh veggies. Okay, so your protein sources, again, 4 to 6 ounces of chicken, fish, beef, poultry, eggs, whole animal sources. And my favorite joke, if it has a face, you can eat it. It's not your children, okay? So the more natural, the better. We don't care about cuts of meat. Like if you want to have a ribeye, by all means have a ribeye. Just you got to understand that you might want to go for a little bit bigger one and skip the fat part of it. We don't care about what type of fish, right? But if it is going to be salmon, we want to go to the wild caught stuff.
That's pretty good.
The farm raised stuff. Who knows what they're feeding those things?
And they're just always sick.
No bueno. So stay away from the farm raised stuff.
And limit processed. Right. So like you don't want your whole protein source the whole time around the program to be deli turkey. Like cook a real turkey. Like just, even though you can get all natural, and even though you can get with no sugar and no chemicals, be sure you look for that, because it is hard to come by. But like that type of food just isn't as quality source for your body as a chicken or a turkey or beef in the process.
Right. And buy organic and grass-fed as much as you can. You just buy organic when you can, buy local when you can, but stick to those quality proteins. Okay. Your seasoning, make it taste good. Hey, but make sure you're reading labels on seasoning. We have YouTube videos on how to read labels. We've done posts about that before, but the rules on labeling are more than about 3 ingredients. Probably want to avoid it.
Unless they're all spices. If we're talking like spices, right? But you don't want sugar. You don't want chemicals in there. You don't want
Stuff you can't pronounce.
lots of them have wheat or like just make sure it's just, parsley, oregano, garlic, onion, or whatever.
What's your 7 bagel one that you've been on a?
Everything bagel. But you can just I went to the store, interestingly enough, and it had a bunch of chemicals in it. I just wrote down, oh, it's poppy seeds, pepper, garlic, onion, and whatever. I did later found an organic one that didn't have anything, but I just made it myself with all the spices I already had on. It's great on your eggs.
Please.
Going back to the first fruit, is frozen okay?
Yeah.
It is okay. So she asked if frozen fruit was okay. That's a great segue. We'll start talking about fruit right now. Just make sure you read the labels, right? So we use frozen berries for a lot of the smoothies that we do. Even though I would tell you to stay away from smoothies right now, just because if you have a machine that's mechanically breaking it down for you, your blood sugar will spike faster. But frozen berries, like if you froze them yourselves, awesome. But just make sure you're reading the labels so they're not dumping a bunch of trash in there.
Thank you.
Yep.
Can you back up to the veggies? Okay, on the 4 ounces of this.
Okay.
How about, I know we said in past salads, of course, or lettuce is obviously kind of its own thing. Do you consider lettuce as part of your 4 ounces of veggies, or can it be totally free and separate? And do you still need the veggies if you go with the salad?
It can. So the question is does lettuce count as your 4 ounces?
Like a salad.
Like a salad count as your 4 ounces, or could it be in addition to? And the answer is yes to both. So if you're hungry between your meals, feel free to eat a salad. You don't have to count it for anything. If you don't feel like eating a vegetable with your meal
And
you have a salad, cool, counts as your salad. Perfect. Yep, don't sweat that. And we actually hadn't gotten to veggies yet, so there's no backing up to do. So, as far as the fruits go, keep it simple. We're going to avoid bananas, pineapples, mangoes, and grapes. I promise you, when you get to the bottom of that curve, when your weight loss is a lot closer to your goal, you can have them again. Like people, it's funny, they freak out about mango. Like, how much freaking mango do you eat? I can't have pineapple. I have pineapple once a quarter, maybe. Anyway, sorry for that. I'm not. So stick to the fresh stuff. Canned stuff, they put a lot of sugar in. Just stick to those low glycemic fresh vegetables.
or frozen.
Or frozen.
Just the berries or whatever.
We love berries. We eat a ton of berries at our house. Costco, in my opinion, is the best place to buy them.
Well, not so for Vinco, but I haven't been there. So they rotate their produce very often, so it's nice.
Tomorrow night after dinner, let's go to Winco.
Hot date.
Yeah.
And then if you're looking, we have a lot of people needing to increase fiber. So look at the fruit you're eating, right? Raspberries are about your biggest bang for your buck as far as fiber is concerned. They have 8 grams of fiber compared to 2 or 3 in a lot of other fruits. So if you're trying to increase your fiber, just pay attention to the fruit that you're eating and the veggies so that you're eating fruits and veggies that support your fiber need too.
Right. Raspberries and blueberries, we eat a lot of. There's a lot of natural health experts that can make a pretty solid argument that blueberries are actually one of the healthiest foods on the planet. But you want the organic stuff because the other stuff has crap sprayed all over them. And next week, Jeff Thurston will talk about why we shouldn't be spraying that crap all over them for many different reasons. So,
Or just wash them really again.
or just
Wash them really again.
why don't you explain your process of washing them, putting them in the jars, because they last a long time when you do that.
Okay, so you can wash them really well. Sometimes it's you can read a lot of different things online, whether it's the baking soda in the water, Some people do the vinegar in the water. I've experimented with all of them. I've also just experimented with just a really thorough washing with water.
And a toothbrush for each berry.
And then I just like spray it. And then the key though is laying them out to dry. So then I spread out towels on my counter, dump out all my berries, let them dry. So I'm talking like they're there for a few hours. And then I put them into mason jars in the fridge. And we can like double at least the time that they stay fresh doing that. So it's just a good way to keep. It's a pain. Like when I first go to Costco and I come home and I'm like, I've got 10 jars to fill with fruit. And I bought at Walmart for really cheap, like just twist on lids. So I don't have to like unscrew the lid and pop up the top. The kids can have easy access to them. And then I just fill them up and they're in the fridge. And people also eat them a lot more that way too.
You just leave them in the refrigerator, not freeze them.
Correct. We go through them fast, so we will eat them usually within a week. There's a lot of us that are eating them, so.
My kids will be here this weekend, so we won't make it through 2 days without having to get more.
But yeah, if you were going to eat, if you find like I'm going to run out, obviously no one in our house is really measuring, like they're not just limiting themselves to 4 ounces. So, but if you were, yeah, I would just, you could freeze them easily. That'd be great.
Okay, so let's talk veggies.
Okay.
We've already dabbled a little bit into it, but it's simple. I think that's the biggest thing is like keep it simple, stupid, right? The KISS principle. If you get to your meal and you don't feel like eating one of these components, then cool. It's not like you have to stuff the whole thing in your mouth, right? You don't have to eat this much. If you don't feel like eating it, don't eat it. Feel like saving it for later, save it for later.
Save your fruit for later.
Don't save your fruit for later. There's a whole blood sugar thing there that we'll talk about. But your vegetables are any fresh vegetables except potatoes, corn, peas, or carrots. We've already touched a little bit why. It's all about the glycemic load that it puts on your body and the insulin spikes that it causes. I promise you'll be able to have some of those things again. Even the corn doesn't love you back.
It's not enough.
You'll be able to have it on occasion again. I know the Landon, the corn people that show up every fall, but when you get to your goal weight, have corn on the cob on occasion. But for right now, we got some stuff to fix, and we can't fix it if your body's trying to break down that thing it doesn't even recognize as food. So we're just going to stay away from them. Okay?
You do, I will say as our tidbit of learning, when you plate your food.
Tidbit of learning?
Yeah, just like little tidbit. Eat your veggies first. Like this is just a blood sugar hack. So if you eat your vegetables first or your fiber first, it will curb your blood sugar spike by up to 40%. So you're going to start with your veggie, then you're going to eat your protein, and you're going to save your carb for last. Your carb will have a lot less insulin surge if it's eaten following the other two foods. So you're eating the same food, but if you eat in a different order, it actually has a much better effect on your body. So it's an easy thing to do.
The other part of that, too, is the apple cider vinegar thing that we've been talking about. If you just do, 8 ounces of apple cider vinegar, 8 ounces, holy. Good.
Everybody.
1 tablespoon, that's what I meant to say. 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, like right before your meal, and do that. That's going to knock your insulin surge out. 40%, that's huge.
Or if you're eating a salad with your meal, just make your own vinegar dressing.
A vinegar-based dressing will do the same thing.
Do the same thing.
I want Kevin to drink it, though. I know he loves it.
You can dilute it in water if you don't like.
I think it is, too.
I'd rather get it over with.
It just drags it out. Throw it back. Okay, so that's the vegetable. That's the big hack, is just doing it in that order.
I asked a question. Sure, I probably already answered this, but the insulin surge. Me, for example, at this point, I have no appetite, so I'm not.
Okay.
That's an indication that I'm not getting insulin.
Yep.
So, do I really need to be taking these extra measures to control that surge? Is it doing me additional benefit besides?
Okay, so Kevin is asking if he needs to take all these extra measures because he's gotten to that point where doesn't have an appetite, not hungry, weight falling off of this guy like a madman. So Kevin, this is specifically for you as an individual. No, you don't need to do all that. Okay, because you're headed in the right direction. You're responding better than most. For everybody else, I would highly recommend getting on that bandwagon until we get a good baseline down, a good weight loss baseline down. Sure, you're going to anyway, so.
I would say you maybe don't have to take as many, but like I'm not ever concerned with my weight. I have very good manageable blood sugar, but I don't want it to,
Right.
like I want to keep it in control. So I would say I don't do maybe all the measures, but there are still some that I take just because I don't want it to go bad.
Can I change my answer? Make a habit of doing that when it's convenient.
So the only thing I'm talking about is I have stopped apple cider vinegar.
Okay,
Before I'd eat my food in the order.
cool.
That's what I would say. As long as you do.
For me,
Yeah,
I could miss meals and somebody has to remind me. So
okay.
that's good for me.
Right. That's it. Awesome. Yeah, I would say just one of those things that we don't want to like totally disregard because it can creep back. And so like do some of the things, but yeah, you don't have to do all of it.
As far as like longevity and brain health and, protecting yourself is a good habit to get into anyway, because it's those big insulin surges that are causing Alzheimer's and all the other crap that's happening further down the stream. In fact, I think May we should do brain health month. What do you guys think of that? Focus on brain health for May. Cool. Jody, what's up?
Asked you before, but I can't remember.
If you can't get the apple cider vinegar down, would it
Okay.
be better to have the capsules than not to have any?
So the question is if you can't get the apple cider vinegar down, is it better to have the capsules and nothing at all? Yes, it is better. But you have to understand you have to take them earlier because it's going to take a while for that capsule to break down. So a case like yours, I mean, can you handle a vinegar-based dressing? Do a salad with the dressing on it.
even if it's like a balsamic vinegar, like as long as there's some vinegar, like you're going to get some benefit.
So here's my concern is with the capsules that if you have a cheap capsule, that it's not going to break down in the stomach where you really need its effect on the stomach acid. So that's my only beef with that.
And have
Now,
a lot of experiment.
the thing with apple cider vinegar is it's a hack that it affects your digestive hormones downstream from that. So it'll still do you good, but your stomach would be a lot happier. Your actual stomach would be a lot happier without the capsule. Well, if the capsules can break open in that space. So take them earlier. That's my answer.
Do you take the vinegar before each meal or just one time?
That's what the thing says, is do it before each meal. So I asked if you take the vinegar once a day or before each meal, and before each meal and it's just 1 tablespoon, not 8 ounces. Can't believe I said that. Actually, yes, I can. Yes.
Okay, so I don't know if I had old instructions and then I ran across the 1 tablespoon, but something I had said like a shot glass in the morning, and now, so do I have to do both?
No. Nope. So you have the old packet. Throw it away. I'll give you a new one.
It's not horrible if you were doing the 2 tablespoons.
No, you'll still have a benefit.
But yes, you can replace it or do both.
Yeah. So the question was in our old stuff, we talked about doing a shot glass once in the morning. If she has to do both, the answer is no. You don't have to do anything.
Okay. I'm choosing. Yeah, I get bound. But a prior default.
You're doing awesome. Okay, so that covers the food. Okay, we need to talk about free foods, and we need to talk about the plateau. When do we start worried about a plateau? So free foods we've already touched on a little bit. So that's your salads, like your lettuce, onions, peppers, tomatoes, cucumbers,
Celery.
celery, You can pop those foods in where you want them, or you can have them to replace your vegetable. Just remember to use good oil. So you either do a homemade oil, or homemade dressing, or like a Primal Kitchen dressing that's with good oils and no sugar. Hey, so you can literally use those however you want. Hey, yes.
Gotta tell you. So I went and got some Primal some Primal, what's it called again?
Primal Kitchen.
But next to it, they had one that was called Skinny Girl.
Yes.
You see?
Yes.
And I was really hankering poppy seed cake, or poppy seed flavor. And it said no fat, no sugar, 65 cents on a deal. I'm like, I'm just going to grab it. Then I took it, put it on my salad, and I'm like, this is way too sweet. I mean, this is like way different. So then I look a little bit closer at the ingredients, even though they don't give me the percentage. The third one in is
Maltodextrin.
Sorry, I already looked it up online, and I'm like going, how can they even market this thing when it says that it actually could increase your fat? I mean, if it increase, increase weight is one of the symptoms, or it's one of the byproducts.
Oh,
And it markets it as no sugar, but it had fake sugars in it.
so let me paraphrase what you just said so the people at home or on the microphone can pick it up. So right next to Primal Kitchen was a brand called Skinny Girl that advertised itself as no sugar,
No fat.
no fat. So he bought it, took it home. It's sweet. He looks at the directions and
Green.
maltodextrin, and in the ingredients is maltodextrin. And then he Googles what maltodextrin is, which causes weight gain. I'm in here. I'm dancing, right? Because mission accomplished. That's exactly the way we want you to think from now on. That's awesome. But in the original program, I think Skinny Girl was in there and Walden Farm brands. And we tried those. I'm like, these are garbage. And then you look at
But it's because they have those sneaky.
that's just sneaky labeling is all that is. That's
But I have found a lot of people don't love the Primal Kitchen. So that's why I've been trying to put forth a lot of the homemade recipes. Just because you can make a lot. I literally, last weekend, we made a homemade ranch. And another weekend, I made a homemade vinaigrette, like with just pretty much stuff you have at your house. And you can dictate the oils. So put Whole30 or Paleo before your favorite dressing, and the recipes will populate for you.
yeah, that's a big secret to this whole thing right there is take your favorite food and put Whole30 or Paleo in front of it, then your favorite food, and watch the recipes populate. There's tons of stuff out there. Okay, so when you're at that maintenance, we're going to stop using the term maintenance phase. When you hit that, your goal weight, and you want to have a cookie, Google your favorite cookie with the word Whole30 and Paleo in front of it. Now, at the end of your program, it's going to taste awesome. But if you went from homemade oatmeal raisin cookie, the ones actually made the other night were fabulous. But if you go from like the sugar or vegetable oil straight from that to this, like it's going to taste weird, but where your taste buds have changed because you haven't been eating chemicals, that's going to be a huge treat for you. Okay, so.
Are you sweaty?
No, I'm just without that
He's
table.
getting the workout.
Okay, so let's talk about the two inevitables, right? Constipation, it's going to happen. There are some steps that you can take to avoid that from happening. We do have an aloe supplement that we can use that's very inexpensive. If that doesn't work, there's other fibers you can use. In the emergency, it is okay to reach out for some of the over-the-counter laxatives that are out there, even with their scary ingredients. If you got to go, you got to go, okay? The important thing is, if that's becoming a problem, then talk to your coach, and she'll get you lists of foods that you can eat to avoid that and give you other tips on it otherwise.
And I've also found movement to be huge. Like, the more you walk, that does, like, aside from food, and I know it's hard here, but still getting out every day and walking, like, you can do it. It does make a big difference as far as keeping you regular, too.
Yes, Julie.
Is Citrussil for fiber and like, okay.
I will, when we look at your app afterwards, we'll Google it and I'll answer that. Citrussil, I'm not familiar with that one, but my short answer is yes, whatever it needs to get you to go. But we don't need to want to do that every day. Yeah. So there's other fibers that are much better for you.
Cleaner.
They're cleaner. But we can point you in the right direction. Okay? So, along with the constipation part of this, we do have plateaus. Okay? We don't, as the staff running this, our thing is if we haven't lost weight for 5 days, consecutive days, that's what we call a plateau. Not changing your weight for 1, 2, 3 days is called normal. Okay? And we will literally have people that we tell them to stay off the scale and only get on it once a week. Why do we do that? Because if you get on the scale today and you get on it tomorrow and it's the exact same number or 0.2 higher, and you get pissed off about that, your body releases all these stress hormones. And guess what stress hormones do to blood sugar? Drive it up. Guess what driving up blood sugar does to your weight loss? Makes it worse. Okay? So if you hit those slumps, that's when the apple and steak thing comes in. Feel free to use it. Okay? Increase. If you're having those slumps, we may need to have a discussion about taking some digestive enzymes to help you break the food down better. Maybe you're not getting enough calories. Maybe you're not breaking your food down, getting the nutrients. That's what I meant to say. Maybe you're not eating enough food.
Maybe we need to shift your fasting window.
To shift your fasting window, we might need to. We've been talking about a fasted feast, right? I've been tinkering around with the idea of getting on the Facebook page and say, hey, how does everyone feel about doing a fast together? Like once a month, a 24-hour just water and electrolyte fast, and that's it. And then a feast right after that where you eat as much of what you want as long as it's within the parameters of the food. So you can really like shift your metabolism that way just by going hungry for a few hours and then eating what you want. As much of what you know what I'm saying. Hey, yeah.
One of the things that happened to me, and I clicked getting on the scale every day, just for the reason you said, was that because I did the Weight Watchers plan before as lost a bunch of weight. And anyway, so 4 ounces to me looked like one thing, but 4 ounces wasn't what it was. And so it wasn't until I went to my daughter's house the other night when she fed me, and I went, oh, this is 4 ounces? That I went and bought a scale.
Right.
And so if you have a food scale at your house, I will highly recommend it, because now I have a food scale. And this morning when I went to put together lunch, I went, oh, this is what 4 ounces looks like. And so I think what first my problem was is I didn't hit a plateau. I probably put my body in starvation mode.
Right. Like you weren't eating. So I'm going to paraphrase what you said just for everybody online. You weren't using a food scale. You were guessing because you had been used to the Weight Watchers way, which, by the way, they're going to start pushing Ozempic. That's another topic for another time.
So you weren't eating enough.
You basically just weren't eating enough. So what I tell people is what you need is 2 scales, right? You need a food scale and you need the scale for you. The food scale, you only have to use that until your eyeballs get calibrated. Once your eyeballs get calibrated, then it's okay to make a guess.
Or if you always use like the same food containers, after you waited for a while, it's like, oh, I know how much goes in my food container for lunch or whatever. But sometimes it still throws you off depending on what food if you're having any food. So I don't know. I would use the scale as long as
And I did, because then I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe it's my brother first whole scale. So I did order that Initech scale, thinking, okay, well, maybe it's that. And heck no, got on that, and it reached the same as the other one. And I'll be all. But anyway, so yeah, having a food scale really, it is a.
We agree. Food scales are a big deal, and they're so cheap. Like you can go to Walmart right now and get one for $12. So that's a great point. Okay, so we've talked about food. We've talked about slump buster or the plateau busters. Coaching. We want to talk about that for a bit.
Sure.
We're continually trying to improve how this happened, in case you guys haven't noticed. What we ask on what we need you to realize is that how many people do we have on the program right now? 130. Each coach is managing a lot of people on a small time frame. Okay, so we have an issue with people that will say, "Well, call me back in 35 minutes." No, there's not time in 35 minutes. I have 4 more calls after you. So just keep in mind on your schedule, that's a set time. Now, if you can't make it or we can't make it for some reason, we'll make it up to you. Hey, and it might just be, hey, can we just text this week? Can I do anything for you? What do you need? We'll make it up to you. Okay. We always encourage, like when you have those questions along the road, text us. But if it's Sunday afternoon, you may not get a response for a while. Hey, we have families, we're humans. Hey, but we do welcome questions. We don't ever want to discourage them, but just keep in mind it might take us a little bit to answer you. Hey, what do you want to add?
I would just say we would appreciate feedback. So we're constantly trying to change what we're doing, like from it just be, some people don't like phone calls, some people only want to text, some people like the phone call, some people are requesting video call, we're fine with that. We've been trying to send good information, so trying to educate you, sending information, sending podcasts. We've done recipes here and there. We're trying to now up the education, so encouraging people to find their own recipes and then sharing them. But we love feedback, and I would say often we don't get a whole lot of feedback. So if there's things you would like as the coaching staff to do, we would love to hear it. Like, hey, we really appreciate when you guys do this, or I wish you did this, or I don't like when you do this, like whatever. We're just kind of tailoring it to like some of the people that have given feedback and what we feel like would be helpful if we were you. But we're not you, so we don't necessarily know. And I would say, just sometimes mishaps happen where we forget. I'd love it, just appreciate a text or a call being like, hey, you missed me. Or I would say one of the bigger ones for us is we do have days where it's like call. We're trying to take good notes of what we promised people on the phone. Sometimes at the end of the day, I'm like, I know I told somebody I would send them XYZ. I don't remember who it is now. I know I didn't write it down. I'm going back in. Send us a message. Just be like, hey, you said you were going to send me information on this, or you said you were going to give me this. Like, by all means, like, let us know. Like, we're not offended. We know we screwed up. So we would love just the feedback of, hey, don't forget to do this for me.
What's up, Jody?
It's not a coaching program yet. So what can I expect?
Okay.
That's an awesome question for this.
So the coaching.
So she asked what can she expect from the coaching?
Okay.
The question.
So typically you're going to get 12 coaching calls. They're usually done weekly. So the first 12 weeks of the program, first 3 months, you'll get a coaching call every week, which basically means we will schedule you when, like, all of the coaches kind of have different days and times that we call. If it doesn't work, I had someone this week that was assigned to me. We just have a random assignment, right? So the phone rings, I'm going to get this person, the next coach is going to get the next person, etc. I had someone this week that was like, I need Wednesday mornings. I work my other job Wednesday mornings. I can't do calls, so I gave her to somebody else. But you'll get a call. They're 15 minutes long. But that's how we have our schedule set up, is 15 minutes. If you need more, then we kind of can rearrange things on occasion. But we try to, so at the minimum, you're going to get a call every week. But we also try to provide education. So each week, we usually have some snippet of information. So we've sent ones on food labels. We've sent it about what sugar does to the body, what intermittent fasting is. So just like education we send out. We've been lately, like the past month, sending podcasts to those that have requested, like, hey, I'd love to listen to podcasts. They're all related to weight loss in some way. We share recipes often. And then we're just there to answer your questions. So I have people text me from the grocery store. Can I have this? They send me labels, as you start learning. And sometimes that first month, it's a lot of interaction back and forth as you're learning. And then a month in, it's like, oh, I actually can go to the grocery store by myself now. Or they look back through this, or they look back through the text and they're like, oh, I remembered I already asked you this, and they could scroll back through and see what we talked about. So that's kind of the basics of it. And we're there to I have other people that are like, I just need you to be I just need someone to be accountable. Like, I know what I'm doing, but you calling in and checking on me makes me be more accountable during the week. We check your weight on our end, so sometimes
I have a specific.
Yes, you will be assigned a coach.
So I need to explain my story.
Right.
Oh,
yeah.
So what'll happen is when you sign up, Brittany will take all of your information and plug it into our system, and then she'll assign you a coach, and you'll automatically get a text saying your coach is Hannah or Ashley or Amanda. How do they get all these A's?
I'm the oddball.
You'll be assigned a coach, and you'll be given her number at that time, and then we kind of leave it up to you to reach out to her. But if we haven't heard from you in a couple of days, we come looking. And then you guys just coordinate together what works best for you. And usually the first text is getting to know you a little bit. Like they'll ask you some, not like deeply personal questions.
I just usually say, hey, this is a little bit about me. This is why I'm doing this. And I'd let you know a little bit about you. And sometimes I get 2 sentences like, I'm 50 and I work here. And other people tell me life stories, and other people tell me why they're doing the program. We do try to get into like why you're doing this. That the stronger your why for doing the program beyond I want to lose a few pounds, that doesn't stick very well for people when it gets hard. That's kind of how we start off typically, and then. But yeah, you guys can share anything else. What have you had positive experiences with your coaches? Do you feel like it's?
Are these all your people?
No. I would say most of these. I have a couple, but quite a few of Ash's.
Because Kim is my coach, and she's been awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, William.
So I'll get a little vulnerable here in this meeting. So my wife and I are doing this together, and so that call gets it's one call. So we get 15 minutes between the two of us. I'll admit, there's probably times where Audra is like, yeah, I got all these questions, and who's on the whole, I'm like, I'm stinking miserable right now. But I don't want to open up and be like, Jim, this sucks. And so, honestly, like the fact that yesterday's call kept getting bumped, if I would just went to text, I loved it because it was more personal. And so that may just be another.
Totally. I do that with a lot of people, with couples too. Some couples love their call together. I actually have some couples that don't like their call together. And I have others that I call one and I text one. So that is open to you. If you want to change that up, I'm totally for that.
I talk a lot.
And that case, so he basically just said that him and his wife get coached together, and sometimes Audra takes up the time with tons of questions, and he's a little frustrated and has stuff kind of just bottles up, right? And sometimes the nature of those calls just change. And that one changed from a phone call to a text, which you loved. That came because Ashley wasn't feeling well.
No, that came because I had a track.
Oh, that changed because she had a track meeting. There's other ones that were Ashley, like last night, Ashley had to bump a couple of people because she had a sore throat, couldn't talk. Like, stuff just happens. Please be flexible with us.
But if you find that, Aaron, like that, you're like, hey, the texting worked great. Super. I actually have a different day that I just do on my texting call. Yeah. So I can add you to that calendar too. So I have probably literally 20 people that just either personality, they prefer to text, or their schedule. Like their schedule is not conducive to a call at the same time every week. So we just text. And then occasionally they're like, okay, I actually have a few questions that I can't ask over text. And then we schedule a call. So.
You can always text me too if you need a dude.
Hey.
That's extra pictures.
That's how I would expect.
Yeah.
So, just to wrap it up, I want to reemphasize the why part of this, because it will get hard. And if you have that super strong why, like I've got a gentleman right now, his why is probably the best why I think I've ever heard. This guy's 350 pounds when he started. And he was scheduled for a back surgery that required a preliminary surgery to put a stent in so the back surgery didn't kill him. He wanted nothing to do with that. And so we're working with him to get his weight down. He's down a good 20 pounds within a couple of weeks, but the guy's got a solid why. Right? Versus the other end of the extreme is someone came in last week and said, I want to lose 10 pounds. And I'm like, eat your food in this order, drink some apple cider vinegar, you're welcome. And she's like, no, I want the education component of this. Cool. So her why was she wants to learn. Hey, for our target audience, for the most of the people that we see, they're right about at that retirement age. And they've got grandkids. And a lot of their whys are because I want to enjoy my retirement and I want to enjoy my grandkids. So what I'm encouraging you is just figure out what your why is. But I would also think about the generations behind you, because if you can teach your kids how to eat better and how to think for themselves, then they won't be subject to all this information that's out there that's supposed to be healthy, but it's highly influenced by fast food companies. Well, let's just call it what it is. It's influenced by corruption.